Welcome to Powerbombshells, just two bros chatting about the wrestling that we're watching and that we like.
Yay! Which seems to be a lot of the same stuff, but I promise we're going to talk about other things outside of these two big companies at some point.
Yeah, I mean, they're clearly we're going to talk about some of those companies today real quick because they keep giving out things that require. I mean, you can't avoid some of the stuff that's going on. It's part of wrestling. It's part of the bigger picture.
And I'm sure if you
Vince
listen to
McMahon is not in charge of WWE anymore, like that starts to change. I mean, he's in charge of creative, so whatever.
Yeah.
But as this goes
as
on,
far as the shareholders are concerned,
it's
he's not in charge.
Yeah. Persona non grata right now.
Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about. I'm sure you've listened to other podcasts who probably talked about the same things. I happened to hop on a podcast last week to talk about these things. If you follow me, you know that I write for Daily DDT. I wrote about all three of these things. So it's definitely the content that keeps on giving. But
it was fun to watch your Twitter this week, actually, where it was like, there's a huge story coming out about, and I was like, oh dear. Oh
yeah,
dear.
Because I just happened to open Slack and I saw that one of the editors had put the story in there and I was like, oh, and all he said was, holy shit. Like, I didn't know what it was about. I had no clue. Then I clicked it and it popped up and I was like, oh my God, no wonder he said that. And so I read it and he was like, are you around to cover it? And because he was at work and I was like, yeah, I mean, technically I was at work too, but I worked from home and had luckily done like all my important stuff earlier in the day. And I was like, Wednesdays are usually a little, my boss I usually don't hear from him after a certain part of the day. So I was like, I can sneak this in real quick. And I was like, and it was funny because I'm starting a social media boot camp with NC State University this week. And last week was orientation. So it was like 4:25. And I was like, okay, I have got to get this done and in by 6 o'clock because I have to do this orientation. So I was like, I'm on a deadline for myself and trying to hurry up and get it out there because it was under like the paid. Luckily, Wall Street Journal, I have it through, I guess I have access through Apple, which I didn't know. And so so I was able to read it because it was behind a paywall. And so I had to hurry up and get on it. And then so then I was like, okay, cool. Orientation ended up only being half an hour instead of an hour. Watch Dynamite. And then was scrolling Twitter and saw the Sasha Banks news. I was like, are you kidding me? It was like 11:30. And so I sent the tweet.
Is that confirmed yet?
I believe
confirmed?
Well, Raj has basically he's sticking by it, and WrestleVotes confirmed it on Friday, and then I believe Fightful is saying they still have not confirmed it, but all signs are pointing to it type of deal is kind of like how they were wording it. So if it's not official, it's likely on its way. And I think Fightful mentioned that at the end of the week before, Sasha's lawyers were working on getting her out of it because I think the argument was you can't suspend me and freeze, you can't freeze my contract and freeze my pay. I think they were saying it has to be one or the other, I think was kind of their argument. And then I also heard something like it was, do you want me or if you don't want me, let me go. And it sounds like so, but the timing is definitely suspicious. Because when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is to deflect from Vince.
Yeah, that was the first thing I honestly thought about was here's a much friendlier, more palatable, distracting story that can, I mean, because they had like two strikes against them with the luck thing or whatever, and it just, I mean, regardless, but I mean, the big one obviously being that Vince may have used some funding of some kind to pay a woman $3 million not to tell that he had an affair with her, and she was given company perks while she was having the affair with him, raises and advancement and all sorts of things. And
yeah,
I mean, we don't like over get into it, but I mean, it changes the landscape because that's a public company, and
right. Yeah, and
you can't do whatever you want.
They're beholden to shareholders. They've got Fox and NBC and and so there's things are not. I've said this a lot. Things are not going great in Stanford.
Yeah, Stanford is not somewhere you want to be. I mean, listen, Stanford sucks in general. I'm from that coast. I can say that. My father lived in Connecticut for a while, so
yeah, they. And it's also like, and then there's the other story that came out with Vince and the XFL, and like,
yeah, right. That was the one I was referring to there.
Yeah, and then we also, and so the one thing that is kind of unknown at this point is what is going on with Naomi. Like, is she?
Yeah, seriously.
What are they do? I have not heard her name come up other than nobody seems to know what's going on. Like, if Sasha goes, does that mean Naomi goes too? Are they working out some kind of a deal to bring Naomi back? Does Naomi even want to come back?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so there's a lot of unknowns there, and then on top of everything else that's happening, it's just it's a lot. I think it's the very, very tip of the iceberg. And one of the things that they did mention in the Wall Street Journal article was that the board, as they've been investigating this this situation, has come across other NDAs. So it sounds like it could get really bad really fast.
Even one more lady comes forward, and I mean, he has, before even we go that far, is that he has a past with having abused women, and I mean, he was accused of rape.
Yep.
Many moons ago, which I didn't learn until this week, and didn't
I
feel
didn't know
good about.
Yeah, I didn't know about that until like a year or two ago, and I had no clue, because I'd never even heard of this referee before. I did not know that there was a woman referee prior to Jessica in WWE. I had no clue, and then to find out that not only were they hiding her, the reason why they were hiding her, and it's awful. It's really terrible. And then there's been, he's been accused of some other things. There was something about a tanning salon a few years ago that can't remember what exactly he was accused of. It was like propositioning women, or if it was just unwanted advances type thing, which I guess obviously propositioning would be the same thing. But yeah, so he's just, there's a lot of things. Yeah, definitely inappropriate. And then, we've talked about how it's probably going to bring back some old stories to light too, with like the Ashley Massaro situation, which
which maybe it should be brought. In that case, I believe that one particularly, because that was terrible, and
it was.
That should come back up.
It should. And I also
there's been no law enforcement, no judicial system, and I feel as though somebody needs to be a comprehensive investigation into what went on there, because that's straight terrible. I mean,
it led directly to her death. So I mean, and you could even say that for China. And
absolutely
too. And
I watched that documentary that I think it was Vice was
I had it recorded, and then we switched companies and I lost it, and so I keep forgetting. I'm sure it's on demand or on Hulu or something, and
worth tracking down.
Yeah, I really need
it's a tough watch, but an important one also.
Yeah, it is. And I do want to make a quick aside, since we were talking about the subject. 2 years ago today is when Speaking Out began. And you see where we're at now, and you see the people who are still on TV getting title shots, who were named in Speaking Out, or they're in other companies with prominent roles, or applauding people for a company was going to use someone who was named in Speaking Out in the UK, and then you have a very prominent wrestler on Twitter applauding them for that. And so it's very disheartening to see that. While some things have changed, and it is a conversation that some of us are still having, it feels like we constantly have to bring it up, because they forget, and we're like, why are you supporting this person? Or you have them trying to sneak back in and things like that. And so And then now you have, the biggest wrestling company in the world, and now their former CEO is, having
currently suspended, I guess. Yeah. I don't know how that, but
he's stepping aside, but he's still in charge of creative. So it sounds like it's all just a show for the shareholders, and then him coming out Friday night, which I didn't watch live. I saw the clip a little bit later, and it was clearly for his ego. You could, because he's a narcissist, and he needs that attention. He needs to be on TV, and of course there are idiot fans who think that he's done nothing wrong and will support him. And they did.
Audience, their audience is embedded forever. They are embedded forever in what they believe in the WWE thing, and whatever he has to say. I think is interesting. What you said to me yesterday when we were kind of talking about this was that he's still out there playing the Mr. McMahon character. I mean, it's not even real to him what he's being accused of and what's going on. And so it's not just that he's out there making statements that are pandery and kind of like nonsensical when you think about it. I mean, it really was a bunch of nothing that he said.
Yeah, and I had heard. Well, it was interesting because CNBC they tweeted that he would be in character and when he would be on TV, and I was like, I know they're, because they are a legit news source, as some people want to refer to them as compared to wrestling media. But they made that mark, and then I heard that he supposedly ripped up the script, which is not a surprise because he rips up the script until usually 8 p.m. anyway. And so I think NBC kind of got a hold of him and was like, you keep it short, do not address anything, just keep it. And then it was a message, and I still don't think that was a message for the fans. I think that was a message for the shareholders.
That was absolutely
that was like, that's not even to the fans. That's to his shareholders and his board members. and so
you don't go out at the beginning of a show on one of the biggest networks in cable and do that the way that you did it, and that's absolutely what that was.
Right.
And the market rules everything. Even the tiniest wrestling. I mean, it may seem like an insignificant thing to people. Oh, who cares about some wrestling shares? No. All shares matter. Every board member, every shareholder, that's what makes the world go around when it comes to this stuff.
And we were talking about the Mr. McMahon character, and I hadn't thought about it until we were talking about it just now. I wonder if that means they'll have Stephanie come back as a character, or if they'll just keep, I would hope they would keep her. I would hope they would
keep a recipe for bad.
And if she's kind of trying to gear, because she's always kind of been the heir apparent, even more so than Shane, even before Shane left, and which was part of the reason why Shane left for a few years to go try his hand at his own thing, is because he kind of knew that Stephanie was the chosen one. And so it seems like this is the opportunity for her to show what she can do as a serious CEO, leading a company through a crisis. So it's an interesting thing because not only is it her boss, but it is her father. And we talked about,
which is important.
We talked about it, and on the show, the podcast that I was on a few days ago, we talked about how, like, it's hard enough as it is. I was like, these are her parents. Like, not that she didn't realize the type of person her father was or anything like that, but you're having to deal with the fact that your father did these things. He had an affair, allegedly cheated on your mother, used company funds, things like that. And then, so that's hard enough to deal with in private, but now you have the public who knows all about this. And so now not only do you have to deal with that, and we talked about she was almost a widow last year, came very close to losing. Triple H came very close to dying last year. So, she's got a lot. And so when she did take time off, of course, we didn't know this part of it yet. Like, I just assumed
she's been through a lot. Some people called it taking time off. Some people called it stepping down. It was very interesting to me to see that. I I don't know if this is true because I didn't actually watch it, but it sounded like they even may have buried her a little bit.
I have heard that she was buried not on TV, but behind the scenes, and that's why, and that they it's kind of felt like she was pushed out, and like I saw some comments about how like she wasn't good at her job, even though she's been in that position since 2013 and she's winning awards for it. Like she just won an award from Variety like 3 weeks ago for like what she's doing, like something about it was like women in media or something like that, and like she's won multiple awards for what she's done. So I mean, I think so it's interesting now that we're finding out this other stuff, like were they purposely burying Stephanie because of like this stuff going on? Like it just seems like there's a lot going on that we probably don't know, and will likely come out, especially because there's more intense scrutiny now on them and what they've been doing. And so because then there's also been questions about the stocks from the day the story went out. The story went out later in the afternoon, and it appeared to be a whole lot of flurry of activity earlier in the day as far as their stocks go. So now that's raising some eyebrows. And so Stephanie has a lot.
You can't dump shares. That's insider trading, and that's actually federally illegal. As to whether a large company like theirs would actually suffer the consequences,
they might have some fall guys in there, but it's really interesting to see how this all unfolds. And I mean, as far as if Vince still is in charge of creative, then I don't think anything changes on TV. I did see some comments that like some of the talent was more hopeful for women now that Stephanie was in charge, but I mean, if she's in charge in name only, I don't know. I mean, I would hope that would be true, that you know, that women would be respected more and be listened to more, especially because of what is causing this whole situation. You would think, but if it
but also as a political move, that's what you would exactly want,
right? Yeah,
a woman CEO, because we respect women, and so I mean,
especially from a woman who went on TV and said she created the women's division, but a few years ago. But so it'll be interesting. I don't think I think this is the tip of the iceberg, and I do it's going to be interesting to find out if just because of the NDA, because the company says it was consensual. However, the woman supposedly the anonymous letter came from a friend of the woman, and she says that her friend had been facing financial hardship before she came to work there. When you have a billionaire or a millionaire involved, it definitely points to coercion and things like that. So people have gotten off their stupid little jokes, and I wonder how many of them really will realize that there's a lot more at play than just what we've heard so far. And so I think it will be interesting how this all plays out. And like we said, if what other NDAs come out and or what those NDAs are for, and things like that. If
one more lady comes out, and I'll finish that thought, is that if one more lady comes out and says that something like this happened, it starts to create.
And generally where there's smoke, there's fire. So, and we keep seeing that playing out over and over with it just in sports in general. So
that'll just keep breaking wrestling Twitter every week.
we might be talking about this conversation we might be having this conversation every week for a long time at this point. And so, so I guess we kind of hit on the Sasha stuff and the Vince stuff. So there was one other big story this week.
And unfortunately, Jeff Hardy was arrested for DUI again, and he was taken off of Dynamite, and
and not only was he charged with his third DUI in a decade, which is a felony. He was also driving with a suspended license, and then there was a charge for like violation of driver's license violation. And then so when I was doing some research for the article, Yahoo said that it was because there was supposed to be one of the breathalyzer machines that are inside the car that that certain people, when they've had a certain number of DUIs, they have to blow into the breathalyzer to get the car to start. And so it sounds like so it was kind of unclear because he was in Florida, so he wasn't in North Carolina, which is where he lives. So I don't know if he was driving a rental car, so it wasn't equipped with that, it sounds like. And so then he was charged with that as well. So that also shows you what he's dealing with because of past actions that, he's gotten to the point where he has to have this special device in his vehicle to even be able to start the vehicle. Yeah. So it's just a very sad situation. So he was supposed to, the day after he was arrested, he was supposed to have had a court appearance, but for whatever reason it was canceled. From what I read, nobody was ever sure why it was canceled, but it was moved to July 5th is when he's supposed to have the next court appearance. It is a very real possibility that he serves jail time because this is the third DUI. This is the third DUI in 10 years. It's a felony charge. He could spend, yes, he is famous. He is a rich white man. So, there are those things that factor in. However, there's still a very real possibility that he spends some time in jail, and maybe it's some kind of a jail plus home confinement type of thing. Like, I don't know exactly. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how that works. Like what? So I'm sure there's options on the table. And I guess the one positive thing is that from what in the statement that Tony Khan released on Tuesday was that that they had offered rehab to Jeff, and he was, I believe he was open to it, I believe is how they worded it. So it sounds like he's going to get some help. So. Hopefully he's getting help now. Of course we don't know where he's at now. So I don't know if they've already begun treatment and then I don't know how that is working. And so I just hope, regardless if he never steps foot in a ring again to wrestle, I just hope he gets the help that he needs. I hope he gets healthy and strong. And I haven't had a chance to listen to it. Matt Hardy did a podcast episode this week, and it was talking about the situation with Jeff, about the addiction. A lot of people seem to forget that Matt is a recovering addict himself. Revy who is Matt's wife, has talked about how this whole situation is very triggering for her because she had to help Matt through his stuff. And, Matt is also, as with any recovering, addict, there's one situation away from, being back where not necessarily back where they were, but, where they're back in old habits and things like that. So I can imagine how triggering and how hard that must be, not only for her but for Matt himself. Matt's tried to has tried to help his brother and things like that. So it just is a really sad situation. And then it's also affected Dynamite, and it's affected an entire company because they were supposed to be in a triple threat match for the tag team titles. It was a really big match. There were rumors that some people thought the Hardys were going to win the title. I saw something, I was kind of under.
Funny because Bob said to me when we watched it after the fact, he said, "I bet you they were going to." I mean, this is just two people in the living room,
right?
But he said, "Wow, that really does suck." Because I bet they were going to give them the belt and let them have.
That's kind of what
they're a good have a run, have a nice end of their careers. Mm-hmm. That the appropriate ending for two people that had the influence that they had on wrestling and people in the company that they're wrestling in.
Yeah,
and it sucks.
Yeah, and that kind of had. Yeah, it does suck. And, that's the conversation my sister and I and my friends have all had. We kind of all wondered if the Hardys were supposed to win. It kind of seemed like that's where they were headed. We all and the Hardys have both, they have both said, we're on the backside of our careers in the ring. We know we don't have much more. But then I saw something last night, believe the article quoted Fightful, and they didn't say for sure whether the Hardys were supposed to win, but because when Jeff was arrested, he was 16 days after he was injured at Double or Nothing, because at Double or Nothing, he Matt said after the pay-per-view on his podcast that Jeff did not remember the match. He remembered the first little bit, and then at some point something happened and he did not remember the match. So this arrest and his behavior, and who knows if they're correlated, but it is interesting that it was 16 days apart. And so people were wondering, well, there was the assumption there that, okay, well, if he was scheduled to compete on Wednesday, he's been cleared, because that would have been that would have only been 18 days later. Well, the article I saw yesterday was saying that if Jeff had been cleared, then he would have competed in the match. But if he was not going to be cleared, then they were going to write Jeff out of the match somehow. Like, I guess he was going to be attacked by somebody, maybe, I guess somebody from the Undisputed Elite, probably. And then they were either going to have Matt have a partner, or Matt was going to be in the match by himself. If Jeff was not cleared. It still didn't say. So I was like, that kind of sounds like maybe they weren't going to put the titles on them then. Yeah. But it all depended on if Jeff was cleared. But now I guess, we'll never know how that ends. And then so there's the possibility now that they'd never get another shot at the tag team titles, because it depends on what happens with Jeff. Obviously his health comes first, and if there's jail time, and then it could be significant jail time, and he's in his 40s and he's had a lot. His body's been through a lot. So he's hammered himself. I mean, he's been so, wrong words, phrasing. He's just taken a beating because of how they do what they do. Right. And then, and we've even seen him do the stuff with Darby Allin, where he's done the crazy. They got there every week. I'm not even going to lie. I agree with the sentiment. I do worry every week, because it seems like Jeff is doing things. I'm like, please don't die. Yeah. Not like in the chanty way, but in the way that it's like, please, I'm serious. You don't. Yeah. Don't. And so, it's a really tough situation. And they had pulled, and I had heard that, I don't know if this is true, but I had heard a rumor that Warner Brothers made them pull the day that he was arrested. They told them to stop promoting the match. They told because it was interesting, because right after, maybe 20 minutes after the news broke, a pre-scheduled tweet went out to promote the show. It was the little video that they always show. It's like this Wednesday on Dynamite, and the match was advertised, and people were like, whoa, somebody forgot to delete the scheduled tweet. So they took the tweet down, but then they reposted stuff that had the match out of there. They were sending they had tweets of like the match graphics, and that match was not even listed. I mean, clearly they also were trying to figure out what they were going to do as far as what happened with Jurassic Express and the Young Bucks, like how if they were going to put another team in there and that type of thing. So, and so that again goes back to like we were talking about WWE, and they're beholden to bigger companies. And so AEW is the same boat. Warner Media likely, they very likely stepped in and were like, get this off of here now, like don't do this. And so that's so you don't it's not just the WWE and not just AEW, like within like Tony Khan and the Vince McMahon and the suits. You now have companies higher than them, who are bigger than them, who they now have to answer to as well. And so and sometimes they have to step in, and so it is so definitely I just wish Jeff the best and hope he gets whatever help that he needs. He needs help, and I hope that he reaches a point in his mindset where he can accept that he needs help and begin to get the help that he needs. Because I don't want to see another wrestler. I don't want to lose another wrestler that way. I don't want to lose a wrestler in general. And then Jeff is somebody that is so beloved that's a conversation that comes up all the time. It's just like Jeff is like he transcends generations and race and sex and orientation, and he's just he is somebody that pretty much everyone loves and they're rooting for all of the time. And so I just hope that the whole family. Definitely. I mean, refer like again with Matt and his family. That's something that they actually have. And Jeff has kids, and they're younger kids, and they both grew up without a mother, and So, I'm sure that's something that weighs on them too. Just having to grow up like that. They lost their mother when they were very young kids. And so, that's something that I'm sure that they think about all the time. And so with their own kids. And so, and then I hope that, if there's anybody else on the roster who is struggling, that they, reach out. And it sounds like AEW is going to be a supportive place. And
we've seen it with Jon Moxley. He quit everything and went into rehab.
Right.
And didn't lose his push and didn't lose respect from people within the company.
And if anything, he gained more, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so, we've seen it. So, I hope that, just really hope the best for Jeff and anybody else who's struggling, that they reach out and get the help and they can find the help that they need. Cause I know, obviously it's not a one size fits all thing, and some people need different things. So hopefully they find so hopefully Jeff can find what he needs and get healthy. And again, of course, I've been a fan of his for a very long time and would love to see him wrestle again. But if he never steps foot in a wrestling ring again for a match, I would not care, as long as he is here and he is healthy. And happy. I don't care.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But yeah, so
we're gonna move on.
3 big stories this week.
3 big stories this week. 3 big stories.
Hopefully we'll get a little bit of a break.
Yeah, let's talk about some actual wrestling and not some of that stuff.
Before we get into some of that, one thing that we should talk about was the match ended up being the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express.
Yes.
Young Bucks are now the very first 2-time tag team champions in AEW history. And then at the end of the match, we finally got the Christian Jungle Boy interaction that's been teasing for a long time. And some people thought it was actually going to be Jungle Boy that would be the one to turn, just had enough, because he keeps side-eyeing Christian because Christian says we, and every time Jungle Boy is like, we you're not in this. And then but Christian, so now we're getting Hill Christian, which Hill Christian's always fun. I'm really excited to see where this goes. And it was really funny. Did you see the interaction with Jungle Boy's brother and sister after the show?
No, I haven't. I've heard about it, but I haven't actually watched
because I saw a clip, and then I saw somebody was like, oh, well, he said you looked at Jungle Boy's mother and said you raised the piece of shit. And I didn't know. And then later the clip came out where you could hear the whole thing, and his mom and sister are flipping Christian off. They're yelling at him and then you hear Christian say that. And it was funny. It made me laugh because I was like, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I was like, Hill Christian is definitely, he's fun to watch, and it'll be interesting because I think this can really push Jungle Boy into a whole other level, which he needs. Like, he's great with Luchasaurus and
ready,
but and like we said, he has been somebody that they have considered one of their 4 pillars. Yep. And he's gotten there. He was the first one to get, he was the first wrestler in all of AEW to get to 50 wins. And he won the Casino Battle Royale last year, and I was there, and that place lost it for him. Like, they were super into him all night, and then when he won, the place exploded. So he definitely has the fan base there, and it's time. I think it is time for him to kind of step out of the tag team picture a little bit. I know there's not a whole lot for Luchasaurus to do outside of tag team wrestling, so maybe it's a New Day type of thing where they still are a team, but they do their solo. He supports Jungle Boy and his solo things, and especially now because Christian turned on them. So now I'm sure Luchasaurus is going to be 100% behind him. So it'll be really interesting. So we finally got one of those other long-term stories. Finally got a little bit of the payoff, and now we can get to the next chapter in that story, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. I was finally.
Yeah.
Yes, finally.
Yes, we got it.
And we got, because of that, kind of the championship situation. Although I don't think that they're wrestling at the Forbidden Door show, but we did get some other Forbidden Door stuff.
Yeah, we did. We got a surprise. We got some surprise. That segment was a mess. It was clunky, and I know what they were doing, and like they were trying, like
with the tag teams coming in and all. And
it was just all.
It was just kind of a cluster.
It took away from Mox and Tana, which you kind of have Moxley,
which was awesome.
Yeah, so Tana, he can speak okay English, and so maybe, but I don't know if they were trying to kind of keep him from having to do a whole.
I like the intrigue. I'm not gonna lie. I don't care. I think that at least for some of us, it's like he doesn't need to talk.
Yeah, because for those of us who are very familiar with the Ace, and Mox kind of said everything for them, and then when I saw Jericho, I was like, what the hell is he doing out here? And then I was like, of course he's coming to take credit for, what he did, which, I mean, he's not wrong. He did bridge that gap. So, and then I was just like, and then it was just like, people kept coming, and I was like, and then I saw and I was like, wait a minute, that's Despy. I was like, and then we see Lance, and I forgot that Lance was part of not Chaos,
Suzuki-gun.
Yeah, Suzuki-gun. And I was like, okay, so that makes sense. And then we had United Empire. We had the return of Orange Cassidy, which led to a stare down between Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay, which was completely unexpected, but I enjoyed it very much.
It was actually kind of great. Yeah. It was such a funny, like, those two couldn't be more different. I'm very interested in that match just because that's like, could you pick two more?
Yeah, it's like, did they pull names out of it's like they pulled names out of a hat and be like, okay, well, this is the matchup.
But Orange can wrestle, and that's the thing I think is so funny and great about his gimmick is that people forget because he's what he is and he does what he does, and is that he can actually put on a show. That guy knows how to wrestle.
Like, and I think that's kind of a cool way to kind of reestablish that fact because he has missed some time, and so his
and he's been out. He's been out with the injury or whatever.
Right, and so that was his big return, and the crowd ate it up. They still love him. He got a huge pop, and then he got a huge pop when they realized that he was going straight for Ospreay. So, and it was and I think that's a really good match for him to kind of get reintroduced to people who just have kind of written him off as a comedy wrestler or forgot that, like, I mean, his last year at Double or Nothing, he nearly beat Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Like, he came very, very close. And that was the show that I was at, and the fans were like super into it. My sister I was sitting with the press section, and my sister and my friend were sitting a little bit, like, I could see them, and she was saying that the people in front of them, like, were losing it, and they were convinced that Orange Cassidy was going to win.
That's so good. I love that.
And she was like, they were so mad when Kenny ended up retaining, and that Orange, like, it was like stolen from his grasp. So, and I think it's nice.
Close.
Yeah. So I think, and we've seen the Jericho stuff with the Mimosa match, things like that. So it's nice. Like, I think it'll be nice to see Orange Cassidy like really get in there and do. I mean, he's gonna do his Orange Cassidy things because he has to. But I think like to show and against somebody like Ospreay, who is the current IWGP US champion. Much to Juice's chagrin, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. And then we found out, gosh, so much happened in that segment. Like, it was like listening to Excalibur read everything, how he reads everything and like trying to catch what Jericho was saying.
Excalibur needs to be the like anchor of that table, though.
Yeah.
He's really good at that stuff, but also he understands how to call New Japan stuff. And I think that makes a huge difference.
Definitely.
And how, for a non-New Japan fan, I think it makes a huge difference in how people get to know what they're potentially going to be paying for.
Yeah, and he did like a really good job of explaining like why it's the New Japan, but it's called the IWGP like why the titles are named.
I love when he did that.
Yeah, because and it was funny because I had heard it a couple of years ago, like when I first started watching, somebody explained it to me, and then I kind of forgot like why, and because I just don't think about it, and so that was cool to hear. But yeah, so in that segment, we found out that there's a big triple threat match, or not, or a trios match, basically. It's Jericho and Suzuki and no, who am I missing? Sammy Guevara.
Yes,
the newest member, or he's back in the Jericho
newest returning member
of the Jericho Appreciation Society.
Yeah.
Ty Conti is now in Appreciation Society. Lance Archer and Despy, I guess, are also in the Jericho Appreciation Society.
There it is. So we've got Shota Umino, Eddie Kingston, and Wheeler Yuta.
We've got the return of Shooter.
Shooter's coming!
He's going to be there to celebrate his dad in the main event.
So
Unless
excited.
Or to console his dad when they stop being cowards and put the title on Tanahashi. Shota will be there to comfort his dad. So that was exciting. I was like, wait, Shooter? Because he's just spitting out stuff, and I was like, wait a minute, back up. Did you say we're getting Shooter? So that'll be they are just packing in matches left and right. We found out Hook is facing somebody from the dojo.
Yeah,
which will be interesting.
But they haven't said who yet, right?
They haven't, but because I wasn't sure if they just said the dojo, and so I didn't know if it was going to be anybody from Japan. But then I was like, well, none of them are going on an excursion, I don't think yet. And then my sister said she saw the graphic said the LA dojo.
That's what I heard.
And so it was funny because JD, who is on the Brace for Impact podcast, he saw me talking about it, and he said that he hopes it's Clark Connors, which Clark Connors versus Hook would be fantastic, because I was like, that would be really good. I was like, Carl Fredericks would probably squash Hook, which is not what they're going for. Mm-hmm. Not that truthfully, like my sister said, she's like, I mean, truthfully, anybody from the dojo could probably take Hook. Not that Hook is a bad wrestler. He's just very early in his career.
And he doesn't
these are
have
all
the
Shibata trained.
Kind of training.
Yeah, these are all Shibata trained men. Anybody could, but we know Hook is not here for losing right now. He's got his own undefeated streak going on. But it'll be nice to see him kind of get in there with somebody, and hopefully it'll be like a longer match than he's had. Maybe we get like a 5 or 7 minute match and kind of see more of what Hook can do besides just the Red Rum, which is great. Like, I love it. Like, I enjoy what Hook does. It's always fun.
I love Hook.
I love Hook. I love the whole how they're presenting him. Now they've got him with Danhausen, which I love, and I'm all about some Hookhausen. So I'm very
about it.
Yeah, so I'm really interested to see where this goes. And we got a women's match.
I know, that's really cool.
Which I did not expect at all. I definitely thought, because, New Japan does not do women's matches, I just assumed that they would not do it.
Just not do one.
Yeah, because, I mean, sure, AEW, I guess, technically is getting top billing, but it's also because A comes before N. But so I guess maybe,
and it's taking place here in North America.
Yeah. So maybe that's part of it too.
I mean, it does lean North America for now, until there's a Japan show.
Right, that's true.
Obviously the idea here would be that at some point there's a Japan show too.
Yeah, I think so. And it sounds like, I mean, that's what people were talking about, how like clearly this is not going to be the only show between the two of them. They're not going to do all their giant matches on one card.
And they're hoping to do them. They're trying to make it an annual thing.
Yeah, so. Which would be awesome. And so, yeah, you would think that at some point, especially when travel opens up a little bit more, that they'll do. So maybe next year it'll be in Japan. And maybe stuff like
there's
that.
Like the early part of the year and the late part of the year.
Yeah, or something like that. So that would be cool.
Or what? This is pre-summer. So, I mean,
yeah.
They also, New Japan has a lot of shows that lead into Wrestle Kingdom that are important shows. you could just use
one of
their
those
pre-existing shows.
Right, because the assumption is that they're going to start having people back on Wrestle Kingdom like they had been doing before. And
oh so, God, can you imagine some of these people going on in the Tokyo Dome?
Yeah, that's all.
I mean, Okada at Madison Square Garden was crazy enough.
Yeah, and we're all waiting for at some point, whether it's next year or 3 years from now, but everybody's waiting for Okada Omega 5. Please. Which is a Wrestle Kingdom match. I mean, sure, it could be a Forbidden Door match, but that's a Tokyo Dome match.
America.
If it's not in Tokyo Dome, then Madison Square Garden is like the only other place.
It would have to be, and that's the only kind of that's the most well-known historic building that you can think of for such a thing.
And because it's so big, and it would be huge for AEW to have a show at something like that, and you would need it to be anchored by a match like that. Like you can't, and so
I'm still leaning Tokyo Dome on that one. I
think
I can't help it. It's just because by then the New Japan fans will have their masks off, and they'll be able to, even though we were supposed to get that and then got lied to.
Yeah, what happened?
We were a little bit angry. They changed their mind. I think it had to do with some of the rising numbers that were going on around them.
That's understandable. I mean, they've been very good about keeping people
They've done
safe.
A pretty good job, and they also had some wrestlers that, I mean, you had appendicitis and kidney infection.
Yeah, and then we have a couple people. Carl Anderson, I believe, did contract COVID too, and so they have to be careful, and I totally get that. So
no, me too.
But and then we mentioned it last week when we were talking about Dominion, but Zack Sabre Jr. has called out Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, but they haven't finalized that.
They haven't finalized it, but they did bring it up on Rampage. They will, when William Regal was on commentary, they asked about, because he called it the back of the Blackpool Country Club and said that he was golfing, and they asked William Regal, because I don't know if you've noticed, William has said it, but he uses he speaks with an American accent when he's on commentary, and he said that Zach talks weird or talks with a strange accent, or I don't know, it was something crazy.
That's amazing.
So that one hasn't been finalized yet, so I don't know. We're getting down to the wire, like we don't. And then there's a whole thing with Jay White. We don't know who he's wrestling. He broke Adam Cole's little heart in two pieces on screen, and when he said that you're not going to be my opponent,
and not you either.
I was like, so neither Adam. Apparently, because there was the rumor that maybe we were getting a triple threat match. Then there was the rumor of maybe Okada, Heyman, and Jay White. And then Jay White says that Okada is not even going to be at Forbidden Door, which is interesting because I read a report saying that they confirmed that Okada would not be there because Okada's wife was due to give birth around that time. But then I believe it was Meltzer said that she's not due until sometime in August, but her birthday is that week. So they don't know if that's where the confusion came from. So I had wondered originally when we thought that, Okada's wife was due in that time frame, that maybe they were waiting because if the baby came early, maybe he could fly out last minute on like a red eye and do something, and maybe that's why they're holding off, or maybe maybe they are just going to save it, and Okada just shows up at Forbidden Door. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what they're waiting for. And then, of course, now the Omega rumors are getting very loud because people think that that's why Jay White has not named his opponent, because he doesn't know who it is, and it's going to be answered by Omega. He did, which we mentioned last week as well, during Dominion when he won, he looked straight into the camera and said he was the true belt collector. He's talked about being the IWGP US champion, and so he's definitely planting seeds, whether it's for Forbidden Door or Wrestle Kingdom or the Forbidden Door next year or something. He's definitely planting seeds for at some point, but now because it sounds like Okada may not be there, then it's getting even louder that Omega is coming back and it's going to be his opponent. So that could be very interesting.
The only things I have in my brain, and these are just like things that no one's thought about or that I've not read, and I'm sure that people have. I just was like, huh. So Kota Ibushi, theoretically, somewhere along the line, potentially healthy enough, and Naito isn't on the show either.
I can see Naito coming, but I don't see Ibushi.
Okay.
Ibushi's so angry with them. And from what Ibushi says, he's nowhere near being ready.
Okay.
He says he's way behind schedule according to everything. I mean, Ibushi could just be, and somebody made the point that Ibushi is a perfectionist, and so maybe is he up to is it Ibushi standards of where he should be, or is it literally?
Apparently, this is something that has gone on in like. There were some Ibushi being Ibushi type answers to this, is that this is sort of, he's something of a diva and has been since DDT. And so who knows?
Yeah.
But I think
I don't know. I think the stuff with his mom really seemed to have upset him. And he got at the press conference, he was unhappy with the way they handled it. So I really don't see Ibushi being there. I would love to see him there, but only if he's the same thing with Omega. If he's ready, and he wants to be there, then absolutely. But if not, I would rather him not be there. But yeah, it's interesting that because Naito is cleared, he's wrestled, unless there were some eye issues, after Dominion that we have not heard about yet. And then, speaking of that brings up the fact that Andrade has said that because of CMLL, he is not he's not allowed to. And I saw something the other day saying he was supposed to be the one to wrestle Will Ospreay. He was supposed to go to Japan to initiate the match and was unable to. And then Dragon Lee also said that he said that he had the same problem, so that supposedly people think that's why Dragon Lee wasn't in BOSJ. We're not really sure
because of the AAA CMLL. We're not working with anyone that's connected to these companies deal.
Yeah. So, which was interesting because with Andrade, and I was kind of surprised that Will Ospreay was the one he was supposed to, as rumored to be facing, because it seemed like with them bringing in Roosh that they were going to do something with Naito and company and kind of do this one giant faction. And so then we wondered if that's kind of why they put United Empire in their place. I mean, clearly, I guess because of Will, they obviously want to push that. But then we also wondered if, well, then maybe that's why it was United Empire instead, because it was supposed to be like this gigantic faction with that had Andrade and Naito and Bushi and Roosh and Sonata, like everybody.
LIJ, basically.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, which would have been really cool. So it's
instead
interesting.
Of United Empire.
Yeah, and so that would be. So it's really disappointing. I hope they can get that figured out, but we know that CMLL is an A and AAA. They're very petty and it's very archaic in the way that they do things, especially with the way the business has evolved so much, even in the last 5 years.
And I think losing the owner of CMLL passed, and his daughter is in charge. And I know that's from reading what I've read of the Observer and listening, is that she's something. We at the end of the day, it's a game, and it's carny shit.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Yeah, it is.
Very carny business, no matter who's involved.
Sucks, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it still comes to that. So yeah, it was. So it's definitely interesting though what could have been, with Andrade, especially because Andrade just came back. He was the Joker in the Casino Battle Royale a couple of weeks ago, or not? I guess it was still technically a Casino Battle Royale, and so he was the Joker which was cool to see. And it seemed like they were priming him for a big spot, and then he had, and then but I was like, you know what, good for him for calling him out.
Yeah, I was glad that he said
good
something
for him
too.
I was glad that and I was like, good for him for doing that. And then Dragon Lee's like, oh, me too. And then I feel like there was a third wrestler that piped in and said something similar, but I can't remember who that was, or if I'm just misremembering. But yeah, so Forbidden Door is is next Sunday, and there's still a lot up in the air. Like, we don't know.
Yeah, we're headed into the Golem show, and the card is not finalized. And I think that's very
we don't know what.
Yeah,
we don't know what Hangman's doing. We don't know what Cole's doing. We don't know what Jay White's doing. We don't know if Okada is maybe gonna be there. And so, knowing AEW, they will pack it with some more matches. I'm sure there's some things coming. And after Wednesday, because I think we're getting Roppongi and against, is it like, I think it's Will Ospreay and why did I forget who it is? There's I can pull up I think I've got the Dynamite thing, because there's so many matches to keep up with. And then there's and then I forgot there's the winner takes all match with
with Great Atlantic Championship, right?
Well, no, there's the winner takes all, and it's Greatest Okan and Jeff Cobb and FTR. And,
the trios.
Yeah, but it's because FTR's their ROH titles are on the line, because it's the winner take all. Yeah, so that is a very interesting.
That should be interesting.
Match. Did they not send me? That's Rampage pictures. Okay, apparently they didn't send me graphics for this week yet. So, just kidding.
Screw them then.
There's some matches happening. All right.
But we do have Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. And I thought it was
surprise.
Yeah, it was a nice surprise. And I noticed when they promoted it in the tweet, they promoted it as former Stardom champion Toni Storm, which I thought was really nice to kind of pay attention to that. And then also, I guess, to acknowledge that she has experience in Japan, which they do talk about pretty often, but I think to put that on there. And then her and Thunder Rosa do have history there, so that is really nice to see. And I think Toni is going to be a really great opponent for Thunder Rosa, and I'm glad that they're doing more with Thunder Rosa in general, and B, putting this match on Forbidden Door when we thought we weren't getting a women's match. So
and it looks like they're going to do story with Toni Storm, so that's nice.
Yeah,
you brought someone in and you're using her, and that's
right.
I appreciate that.
Yes, definitely. Me too. And then, speaking of Thunder Rosa, she's nice she's going to be one very busy lady. So
nice segue.
Both. Well, she's going to be very busy with two different things. So I guess, keeping with the Japan theme, she will be wrestling for TJPW, which is associated with DDT Pro. And so she will be in let me make sure I get the name of this tournament correct. It is
the
Summer Sun Princess. Yes. Which is a really big tournament that TJPW does. And so she will be returning. She's I believe it's Mayu Yamashita, I believe is who she's wrestling. I've heard really good things about her. She actually Mayu was on Dark Elevation last Monday, I believe. And she's been wrestling some in the US. I know Deadlock Pro had her a few weeks ago, and my friends who keep up with Japanese women's wrestling more than I do are really big fans of hers. They said it's really good that Thunder Rosa is facing somebody like her, which is very nice to see. And then also, speaking of that tournament, Willow Nightingale is making her debut, and she will be part of that as well, which is very exciting. And Willow's phenomenal, and she
got some TV time this week, and I was happy to see that. Because let the girl work. She's great. She's very charismatic.
She's such a good baby face, and she's charming and she can wrestle and she's so good, and she answered Jade's challenge, and we've seen her, she did wrestle against, it was her and Trisha Dora, and
I don't remember.
Somebody else, and then it was against the baddies, and the baddies of course won. It was a very short match, which I was mad about. I think that's what I remember the most from that match, was I was mad that it was so short when you have Willow and Trisha Dora
yeah
in that match. So it was nice to see her get, and she's been on Dark and stuff a few times, so it was really nice to see her kind of get that spot, and she had her little moment with Stoke backstage.
Yeah, it was great. They actually let her talk. She grabbed the microphone and actually talked a bit, and it was like, cool, like, good job.
So I'm glad. I was glad to see that. So I'm hoping they're going to bring her back more often, and hopefully they just sign her already.
I mean, I just like her. I just like her. She's great. So I want to see her more, and that's
me
just
too.
It. So
me too.
It's just that simple.
Yeah, it really is.
It's what I like, and it's what I want to see.
Yes. And then, so also with going back to Thunder Rosa real quick, so last night was Triple Mania, which apparently is happening like 4 times a year now.
Wow.
So they had
quadruple mania. Then.
Yeah, they had another quadruple mania last night, which I saw some insane clips of. So apparently Taya Valkyrie, who is the AAA I think it's La Reina's champion, I believe.
Yes, because she won that at the last Impact.
She won it from Diana. Yes. So she last night, after her match last night, she called out Thunder Rosa, and they showed her reaction. I saw it because Thunder Rosa quote tweeted a tweet of somebody who got her reaction to watching. She was watching the TV, and she said, I have your address and I have your phone number, and you have my phone number. We know where to find each other. Let's do this.
Oh man, I watch that.
Yeah, and she was like, and she quote tweeted about how she lives rent free in some people's heads or something like
nice.
That. So
that's always my favorite thing about the Young Bucks Twitter is their location is rent free in your head.
Yeah,
and I just think I find that
it's hilarious.
The greatest thing ever.
It is. It's so good. And so I was like, well, so Thunder Rosa, I really like that they're letting their champion be in other promotions. Like, that's huge that they are letting her. And I guess it kind of fits with Thunder Rosa in general, because when she first came along, she was in NWA, and so she was one of the first women to cross the Forbidden Door, and we saw her, and she made such a great impression that they signed her as soon as they were able to. It took a little bit of time because she had to finish up with NWA, and she's been great for the women's division. She finally got the title. They've been a little not handle it the greatest early on, and so now it's nice to see that they let
Britt be Britt, and now they're letting Thunder Rosa be Thunder Rosa, and I think that's the best way. They let Jon Moxley be Jon Moxley, and Bryan Danielson be Bryan Danielson, and that's how that works. So I think that it's important they're letting her do her thing, and I don't think people understand what Thunder Rosa, most of what Thunder Rosa does, like, she does so much for charity, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know where she finds the time, but you watch her blog.
She has no time to sleep. Like, I don't have
half her stuff that she's doing on the indie scene. She's like using a bunch of it to support, mission stuff in her community, and
she's phenomenal.
She's great. And they should let her be her, because great.
And I believe, like, in one of her earlier promos, she did, after she won the title, she was talking about wanting to face other women and other like, I feel like she said something about taking her title, and basically because she's a fighting champion, and she will fight wherever they will let her, basically. So she's got, I don't know, I'm not sure when the next Triple Mania show is. I didn't think to look to see when that was. I just know, so she is doing that. Obviously it'll probably be after the tournament with TJPW, which I also want to point out, when I was on the media call with Tony Khan, I asked him, are we gonna get to see the women work with DDT Pro, which obviously, because DDT Pro does have women. They also do intergender wrestling, which we know AEW is, Tony Khan is very against that. But they do work with TJPW, which is their all women's promotion. And so that's, I was curious to see. And he said yes, and he was kind of vague about it. He, not in the brushing me, like, it wasn't like he was brushing me off, but Tony, just the way he talks about things, like, I think because he just has so much to say. And so but he said yes, but then he just was like, well, we've had women come through the Forbidden Door, and we've seen Yuka Sakazaki, who trained in the DDT dojo. And he was like, and we've seen that, and we've seen men. And then he said, so I look forward to seeing more men and women come through the Forbidden Door. And so he sort of answered my question and sort of didn't. And then last night I got my answer. So I guess Tony just couldn't tell me then. Just kind of, because the first time I went back and listened to it, because I went to get for an article I was working on for Daily DDT, I went back and I finally got the full quote, and I was like, he kind of blew me off, but he kind of didn't. And I was like, I don't think he was being rude. I think it was just being in the very Tony way. He's got a lot of things to say. He's got a lot of people to talk to, type of thing. And then last night when I saw the announcement, I was like, I finally got my answer like 3 weeks later, but here we are. And it's a good answer.
I like it. I think it's awesome. I am kind of blown away, but excited about the fact that it's there.
Yeah.
I like it. And it fits in the show, and it's something that's, it'll go with the show.
Yeah.
It won't feel, you may or may not with New Japan fans, but I don't think, we're also AEW fans.
Yeah.
So it's no big deal. It's half and half. Not half and half, but it's both in this one. Yeah. I would say that this feels more, because the ROH Supercard was kind of split up. They did the ROH stuff, and then they did the New Japan stuff.
Yeah.
And I think we all know that we were all going to see Okada and not ROH and the Battle Royale at the beginning. And it was great to see Liger before he retired and everything else. But this feels more complete. Like, this is one whole show, not two shows happening in a place because of circumstances where we crisscross a little.
Yeah. And it feels like, and like we've talked about before, how like this, whatever happens at Forbidden Door will likely have implications for further things, other shows.
And both companies.
Yeah, and we'll see stuff, obviously Wrestle Kingdom is the big thing and the big goal, but they've got other shows, and some of these wrestlers will probably be in America for a little bit, so maybe they film, maybe they stick around for a couple Dynamites or Rampages, or maybe they keep some people, or maybe, because my sister was like, why
Suzuki's not in the G1 and Lance Archer is, so
Suzuki apparently is in the UK. I don't know how long, but I saw a match yesterday that he was on. I think it may have been for Rev Pro or Progress, probably Rev Pro, because I know
he likes going over there.
I
wouldn't be shocked if he wrestled for OCC while he was around too.
Yeah, so hopefully Suzuki is gonna be around for a little bit. I'm hoping he sticks around. Maybe he'll be at the although that's not till August, so I don't know if he'll be here for 2 months. But I was gonna say, hopefully he'll be at the GCW show in Charlotte, so that I maybe will actually get to meet him this time.
You'll get your chance.
It'll come.
It
will come. But in the meantime, I've got Haramu. Hopefully we're doing a
Oh my God, I'm so jealous of you.
Yeah, when I saw that, my sister saw it, and she was just like, oh my God. And she like couldn't get it out. And I was like, tell me. And she just, her jaw was dropped, and she was like, guess who we get to see? And then she it was a delay, and she was like, we get Haramu. And I was like, oh my God. And I think my jaw dropped, and I was very excited. And then so she sent the tweet to our friend group, and so I looked at the poster, and Eddie Kingston's on the poster too.
Nice.
And so I'm super excited for that. Like, the show was already going to be fun. They haven't announced meet and greets yet, but I'm really hoping we get a meet and greet with Haramu. So I was like, Suzuki is still on my list, and I still have put that out in the universe. that's going to happen, but I will.
This is fine. This works.
Yeah, I will take. Yes, I will definitely, and I will even take it. I will take a meet and greet with Eddie Kingston too. I love him.
So, Eddie's the man. I'm excited to see. I mean, that shenanigans thing that they're doing with them will be fine because Suzuki's in it, and I get to see Shooter, and that's my first time. So
you'll get to see him live. So
I've never seen him. He's not, because I mean, most of what went on here before the pandemic was Evolve. So there was not a lot of Japan. New Japan. My hope here is that, I mean, it's the follow-up show from Forbidden Door. Maybe some people will hang around because it's literally a 45-minute flight.
Yeah.
And maybe be on that show because of whatever happens on there. But to see, hey, we sold this place out. They keep opening tickets. They've opened up more seats for Detroit, and we've filled it. They're doing Blood and Guts, so maybe one or two of these guys will hang around. Maybe Suzuki will do Blood and Guts too.
Yeah, because my sister asked, because she was talking about how we were talking about the matches that have been announced so far for Dynamite, and she was like, why is Desperado not on this? Why is he not on Dynamite? And I was like, well, maybe they're saving him for Rampage or something.
Yeah.
I was like, you would think they're gonna. I was like, I mean, they may put him on Dark. They sometimes do that, and they put some stuff over there on on Elevation too. So it's like maybe they get in like a couple of tag matches on Dark or something like that. So we could see that happening. But hopefully, I mean, because he's here, so I doubt he flew right back because the show's next week. So hopefully they've got something scheduled for him. And then, so I'm really looking forward to the show, even with some of the stuff still being up in the air. We don't know what some of the biggest wrestlers are doing. We don't know if Danielson's been cleared yet, and if he's wrestling Zack Sabre Jr., if they're gonna we'll have to save that one for Wrestle Kingdom, which wouldn't be terrible.
So Tokyo Dome worthy level.
Yeah, definitely. And so I guess we'll segue right on into circle back to Strong for a minute.
Yep.
Because yesterday the brackets for the New Japan Strong Tag Team Tournament was released, and as you'll see with the dates, the semifinals will be happening in LA, and then I get the finals.
Yeah.
Yay!
You're killing it. See, you don't get to go to Chicago, but you get a lot of other fun stuff. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward
in this.
Yeah, and so you'll see. Yeah, and so I've heard. So we've got Dark Order in there, and I've heard that the Dark Order team is going to be Evil Uno and Allen Angels, which is an interesting team.
Right,
yeah, but I think it'll be a good team, so that'll be really cool. And then the TMDK will be the TMDK that was in. Obviously in Australia, because that's where they were before they went to WWE. But that will be the ones that'll be Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste will be the representatives for TMDK. I don't think it doesn't sound like it'll be Bad Dude Tito, who is really awesome. We got our guy Carl Fredericks is in there, and he's teaming with the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels.
Which, thank goodness, I got that wrong when I was talking to you yesterday.
Yeah, we thought it was another person named Chris with the last name starting with D. Thankfully, they were smart and did not do that.
Yeah, no, I was glad.
And I think the representatives for the factory I've heard will be Camarado and Solo. I don't believe QT Marshall will be involved. I don't know 100% if that's correct, but that's what the thought is.
That seems like to me, that seems to make sense.
Yeah. Especially because they've been doing, the factory has been showing up and doing things, and QT's kind of has some solo stuff. So I think they are going to do Camarado here. Midnight Heat, I have seen one time. I saw them on the Defy show that they did for free on Pluto, and that was the one where the main event was Jon Moxley versus Tom Lawler. So Midnight Heat, I believe they opened the show, or they were one of the early matches. They were a pretty solid tag team for what I've seen. I've heard of the West Coast Wrecking Crew, but I don't know if I have seen them wrestle before. But I've heard good things about them. And then I meant to Stray Dog Army. That's Barrett Brown, and I'm missing somebody. Hold on. We'll find out.
I'm no help. I'm terrible.
No, I know that, and I meant to write.
I'm like, you're so bad at this.
I meant to look this up last night so that I could be prepared and clearly.
Yeah, whatever. Preparations for losers.
Stray Dog. Stray Dog. See, I thought that I've seen them. They've wrestled in Strong before. It looks like, and I will tell you. Is that Bateman? Yeah. Okay, yes. So it's Garrett Brown and Bateman. That's what Bateman. I thought. I thought it was Bateman, but I didn't. Yes.
So you should have guessed because you would have been right. You're really good with that stuff.
I try. But yeah, so there's, they'll be there. And then, of course, we get Aussie Open, who is really a really good tag team. Yeah. So that'll be a really fun tournament. I'm really looking forward to it. And, we're all
stoked that you get the final. It's going to be so fun. Me too. You guys are going to be like so loud and awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. So I'm looking forward to that. And so it was a nice surprise to see that yesterday. A friend sent, friends sent it to our text group. So a couple of them will be at the show, and they're like, "Look what we get!" Nice. So that's nice, and so definitely looking forward to that show. And I did actually have a chance to watch some outside wrestling last night. Well, I still have to get caught up on Strong. I still got to figure out how I'm going to do that.
Closer than I'm closer than I thought to the current, but I still need
I'm like more. 5 or 6 episodes behind because I stopped watching. I stopped watching right before BOSJ, and then all I watched was BOSJ. And then like last week, I was like, "Why didn't I get caught up on Strongs? I didn't have anything else to like." Because I actually cleared some things off my DVR for once.
It's okay to take a break.
It is, but I was just like, I complete like it literally slipped my mind, and I was like, I could have been catching up on Strong this whole time. But so I was planning to watch because IWTV was having their first Pride and Vibe weekend, which was going to feature shows with wrestlers from the LGBTQ community. And Friday night there was a show that like a friend of mine was watching, and he texted a few times, and he was saying that like he's I think they ended up doing some battle royal because people couldn't come because of travel, and so they just kind of threw it together. And I did see Alley Catch. She came out as Al Catch, and she had her hair pulled back and a ponytail, and she had on a white tank top. And it reminded me, if you remember the video from Lady Gaga, the You and I video, where Lady Gaga is also dressed up as she's dressed up as a guy. She has short black hair. She has on the white tank top as well. And Joe Calderone was her alter ego in that video. And I think, and Alley Catch is a huge Lady Gaga fan, so I think that was her little homage to to Joe. So that was really cool. But yeah, so I heard that show was really good. And then Paris's Bumping was on yesterday while I was out running errands, and I know Trisha Dora was on that show. I was telling Mel about this show a little bit yesterday. There was like going to be a lyric off between Pollo Del Mar and Washington Heights, and I think Bussy had a match. Who else did I see? I think Billy Dixon was going to be on there. I heard some, and then Faye Jackson was bringing back the gray sweatpants battle royal, which, is a fan favorite. Everybody loves that. And so, but I have to wait for it. It's because I missed the live stream. I've got to wait for the video, the video on demand. So hopefully it'll be up in a few days, but I heard it was a really great show. So I went on to IWTV to see if it was playing, and there happened to be another show on from Prestige Wrestling called The New Reality, and I missed most of the show. I turned it on during intermission. And so I got to see the final 3 matches, but the main event is what I wanted to see. And so I did get to see, so the first match back was Anthony Green, which if you watch 205 Live or Evolve, you are very familiar with Anthony. He still comes out to Heaven is a Place on Earth, which it always reminds me, because when he came last year, he came out to that song. There was a little girl sitting next to me. She's probably 8 or 9 years old. knew every word to that song, and she was singing it at the top of her lungs. She was super into the match. She was very into Anthony Green. And so I think of that little girl every time I see him.
That's awesome.
She
was living stuff like that.
Yeah, she was living her best life. And so he wrestled Vinny Massaro. They had a really good match. Vinny Massaro got the win. And then I was very glad to see it. I did not miss Kid Bandit's match. I've seen Kid Bandit a few times in Deadlock, and I saw them on Effie's Big Gay Brunch, and Kid Bandit is wonderful. And I was very glad that I didn't miss their match. They wrestled somebody named Funny Bone, and it was a really interesting match. And there was one part where Kid Bandit was jumped and ended up crowd surfing, and they were like carrying Kid Bandit through, and then Funny Bone got on the top rope, and he just dove on all of them and like took them all out.
Nice.
Yeah. And then Funny Bone nearly got the win, but Kid Bandit came through at the last second and got the win. So that was a cool match. But then the main event, like, I knew it would be good, but then it's one of those matches like we talk about on New Japan all the time, where like are on Strong, where like
better
on paper,
than it had any right to be.
This
I knew it'd be good, but holy crap.
Yeah, so this immediately made I have a list of matches of my match of the year contenders that I've been keeping for the last couple of years. Nice. So this immediately went on that list. It was Lee Moriarty versus Takeshita, and it was incredible. Like it was so good. And I really, watching Lee, I was like, I really hope that AEW will use him more, because he's just a phenomenal talent and he's so good. And the fans love him. And then, of course the fans really love Takeshita. Takeshita is amazing.
He's been killing it, man. I love watching him.
Yeah, and it was
great. That was a perfect choice when they were like, okay, this is what DDT has going for it, and this is why it's important that we have a relationship now.
Yeah, exactly. And it was interesting because they were calling him the Ace, and I was like, it's weird because when I hear the Ace, obviously it's Tanahashi, but apparently it's because he's the Ace of DDT Pro, and so that's why they call him that. And not that he doesn't live up to that, like he did.
No,
that match was
great.
Yeah, it was great. It was funny because in the lead up to the match, because we've talked about how Takeshita has found Cinnabon, and that is his new favorite thing. He eats Cinnabon literally almost every day. He eats it. And Lee was talking about how Annie Ann's is better, and he posted a video of him kicking a Cinnabon, and that just incensed Takeshita. And he told him he should never do that again. And so the match was incredible. It was like a constant back and forth. Like there were times that Lee could have won. There were times that Takeshita could have won. Takeshita ended up getting the win. And it was literally like, if you have IWTV, please, as soon as the show is up, go out of your way to watch that match. It was phenomenal. And Takeshita, after the match, he said, "Hey, Tiger Style, we are the future. Good luck." And I was like, I mean, what else do you say? He's correct.
That's awesome.
He is correct. They are the future, and we are very lucky that we get.
The future looks bright and wonderful.
It does. And we've talked about
such a great time to be a wrestling fan
really
right
is.
now.
And just
it's
because
so awesome.
Yeah, and you can travel, and to see somebody like Takeshita, because I don't watch DDT Pro, and I've heard wonderful things, and I probably should watch DDT Pro. So getting to be able to see Takeshita and to get to see him outside of DDT Pro, and he's having all of these great matches, and he's living his best life while he's in America. He went the other day, he was talking to Alex Zane on Twitter, and because Alex Zane said one of his favorite things about living in Florida was fish sandwiches, and he said, can I try a fish sandwich with you, and do you want to share? because he'll put that and he'll put, do you want to share in Japanese when he asks these things. And so they did Friday. He posted a picture, and they both had fish sandwiches, and he tried alligator tail for the first time.
Oh, all right. Hey.
He also, and then I saw earlier that day they had went and got Sonic, and so he had Sonic for the first time. I saw that last week when he was in Texas, he had a Whataburger for the first time. So Takeshita is just living it up, and putting all these banger matches every time he gets in the ring. So we're very lucky to get to see it. So I'm so it's a lot of fun. And so I wish, and there's another match I need to go back and watch, and it was who did Takeshita face? It wasn't Lawler, was it Tom Lawler? There's somebody he wrestled last week, and I've got to go find that match. And then I've heard they did dark tapings last weekend or the weekend before, and he wrestled Anthony Henry.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh my God. I was like, they wrote, I was like, they made this match for me. Because it's like, I love Anthony Henry. I've watched Anthony for a long time, and so I'm very excited to see him versus Takeshita, because I'm hoping this is a good showcase for Anthony, because they've put Anthony on TV a few times for him to kind of get squashed a little bit. So I'm excited to see him go in there, especially because we know Takeshita has the jumping knee, but Anthony has some really hard kicks. So I'm really looking forward to the match. I don't know how quickly it'll be airing, because I think they film like 4 episodes in advance when they film in Orlando. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I know some of you probably don't pay attention to Dark, but Dark has some bangers sometimes too. And I do. And I actually have a separate little list at the bottom of my match of the year notes is matches that stand out like on Dark. And so there's a couple. There's a Joey Janela and Sunny Kiss match was really good. And also shout out to Joey for calling AEW out for only putting Sunny on TV during Pride Month in a commercial.
Yeah.
I was like, good for them. And people were like, oh, well, you could book them for GCW. And he said that he tried. He said, I tried to get them in Atlantic City, and it was blocked for whatever reason. So AEW blocked him from putting Sunny on a show. So
interesting.
I was not thrilled with that. So I was like, please put, and I was like, so somebody is, for a company that listens to their fans, people ask about Sunny a lot, and we are not getting Sunny. So, but
there's your next question for Tony Khan.
Yeah,
definitely with that.
Yes, I will. That will be my next one. And now, since we had the conversation about putting Sunny with the baddies, I really want that to happen.
Yes,
so please make it happen. And because I was like, can you imagine Stokely and Sunny? I was like, that's just good TV right there.
It could be a lot of fun. Stokely could be anybody, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
That guy. It's just that guy.
That guy. He's so good, and I'm glad that he seems to be in a place that's definitely going to use him to his maximum ability.
Yes.
He's so entertaining. So I'm very glad about that. Maybe we'll see him. He would be funny on Forbidden. God, to see him with some like Suzuki. Oh God. Like not even in a match with Suzuki, but just like interacting.
Just, like, cutting a promo.
Or with Toriano.
Oh my God.
Just look, I have ideas. Let's let these happen.
But what's great about it though is that we can actually talk about this stuff, and there was no chance at all that was going to happen before. Yeah. And now like some of this stuff could really happen.
Yeah. And and that's the really cool thing that I think kind of goes back to when AEW first started, is like we could have all of these dream matches, and we could have all of these things happening. And I was talking to somebody who was working, they were brought in to work, I think Dark or Rampage, and they were like, I was standing in this locker room and I looked around and I was like, that could be a dream match, that could be a dream match, that could be a dream match. And he was like, and I just got to take it all in and see all these people. And he was like, it's a really incredible time that we're living in, that we could have these matches, and that we have promoters who understand that this is what will make fans happy. This will make fans buy tickets to your show and buy your pay-per-views and things like that. Is, if you keep the fans happy, then they will keep coming.
And we have a means to watch them.
Yeah, exactly. There's streaming.
No trade, tape trading. There's no like scrounging around. we can just go. I mean, at any time, I have the time, I can just go sign up and watch Stardom.
And then even if they don't have the means to do it there, I mean, there's free trials, so you can go like, okay, I have this week, let me go see what I can watch. And there's ways that, there's all kinds of cool stuff out there. And
that's probably a good place to wrap it up on.
It is.
Loving wrestling is always a good place to wrap it up.
So we will definitely so we went a little long again this week.
I think 90 minutes may be our number. I don't know. We
try to keep it at an hour, but then again, we also had 3 gigantic stories to cover this week, so that took up some time. And then I actually had some time to watch something that wasn't AEW and New Japan.
No, I'm glad you actually
that was only 3, and that was only
3
whole matches. I've got to get caught up on Deadlock Pro. I am missing very good things. I keep hearing about them, and so I need to catch up because I love the first 4 that I watched, so I'm very behind on that. Next week we will be back. Well, I will be, because somebody will be in Chicago.
Yep, I will be in Chicago. I might pop on. I will do my absolute best. I don't want anyone to get really excited because I have no idea what the circumstances of the post game.
And then the rest of us who will be here next week will #not be in Chicago. So if you watch our live stream from Double or Nothing, you heard us joking about #not in Vegas. So yesterday, I surprised Mel with this.
That's wonderful. And I wonder if I can pop it. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And the nice thing though is that our co-hosts that are stepping in for me are a lot of people that I really am excited for.
Yeah.
And actually, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm glad that I'm going to the show and I'm excited. I'm a little jealous of some of your special guests there. So
so it's going
to have to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, we've got some good special guests for you guys next week because we wanted to make sure that, we were still here, even though we were going to be, one of us would be at the show and one of us would not be, so then the following week, you'll get to hear all about Mel's experience at both Forbidden Door and at the following Dynamite. Yeah, Blood and Guts. So we'll probably have an hour and a half show talking about that.
Yeah, right. There you go.
And then, we just wanted to make sure that we had something for you guys. So as always, make sure that you are following us or following Fight Game Media on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're going to try to start doing better with that. Of course, subscribe to YouTube because there's all kinds of good free content out there. So make sure you do that. And then, like we said, we're going to have some guest hosts next week, so make sure that
after Forbidden Door live.
Yes, live will be. So who knows what time that show will end, if it's a AEW paced show or a New Japan paced show. So
it'll end when it ends, okay?
Yeah, it'll end when it ends, and we will see how that will go. But just make sure that you're following us on Twitter at Powerbombshells, because that's where you can find all the information. And so when we get that finalized, we'll have that on the Twitters. Yeah, and then we'll have, obviously, that's where the link will be for you too, because you can set reminders on YouTube. I don't know if you're aware, but you can set reminders, so it will remind you, and it will show you right when we go live. And then, of course, if you're following us on Twitter, you'll see that I'll tweet like for live pal, stealing the line from that show.
Well, it's a fun show, and I think everybody appreciates. I mean, if you're watching the Fight Game Medias, you know we're a live pal show, so we're allowed to steal it once in a while.
Yes, exactly. So thanks for hanging with us this week. If you are a dad, happy Father's Day.
Yeah, happy Father's Day.
There's also, it's Happy Pride Month, happy Juneteenth for those who are also celebrating that today. And so we hope that you have a really good week and that you will join us for the live show and then the show after, so that you can hear all about Mel's experiences in Chicago and Detroit and all her cool things that she gets to do. And thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll see you next week.